Alright, BootTube. I've taken the last, month and a half off for the holidays. Mainly trying to recoup spending money on the holidays and doing a few race car things in between then and now, if you follow the channel. But I figured today, or tonight I should say, is a good time to do an official update on where everything stands, because I haven't, and I did that talking update where I talked over my in-car footage a little bit about everything. But I figured I would come down here and show you what I've been up to on the Miata, and I've done a few things on the truck, and what parts I've gotten in. So let's go ahead and look into that stuff. So if you followed my other, or watched my other video, I talked about having to wait on parts. So, game plan, I'm going to use the existing fuel pump that is in the Miata, and I'm going to turn it down to somewhere around 4 to 5 psi with this Holley regulator. It should be able to do it. We'll see. I've got this improved racing 165 degree thermostat for oil system. The only reason I'm not technically even down here working on this stuff tonight, big time, is because I am waiting on Summit, of course, to ship my stinking radiator that I ordered. They said they had it in stock. They said it was shipped same day. They still say it's in stock, and it still hasn't shipped. So, don't know what's up with that. But I can't complain. It's it's not really holding me up on anything. I had to order a few other things before I can really dive in. But this right here, this is the good stuff right here. This is where it's gonna be. This is what's gonna take a lot of time and effort right here. So I'm gonna build my first full exhaust, header back, everything for this car, since you can't really run a factory. You can't exactly run a factory header on a Miata for a rotary, because Miatas and everything are backwards. Exhaust and intake and everything. It's almost like Mazda did that on purpose for a reason or something. But this is a full 2.5 inch exhaust kit with slip joints and everything. So it should make it much easier to build. But stuff like this, I'm gonna have to cut this joint off, the slip joint off, because from all the reading that I've done, you want a minimum of 3 inches out of the port before it turns. So it's gonna be some tight fits down in there. Oh, and by the way, you haven't seen it on video yet, but the motor is in the car, set in the car, everything clears. So super excited about that. I've got a side mount coming for the alternator. I'm hoping it clears my steering rack stuff. It should be, because the bottom of it comes down to this bolt. So if that's the case, then it's gonna clear. Should clear fine. Got the cover put on the transmission tunnel and seam sealed it up all the gaps for fire shielding. I've got one hole that I drilled a little too big because my drill bit was worn out, so I went to a step bit, and so I got to stick a bolt in there and seam seal that up. But other than that thing is done. I initially painted it black, but I think I will come back and probably do the full interior a different color when I do the roll cage. I'm not exactly sure yet what color I'm going to do it, but that's a little bit down the road thing. So But yeah, motor is fully in the car. Transmission, everything's bolted up. That's how it sits. Clearance underneath the oil pan to the steering rack in the factory location, so it's not messing with any of the suspension geometry. I'm excited. I'm stoked. It doesn't sit any lower than a factory Miata oil pan, so technically where it's at, the subframe will hit before the oil pan hits on the motor. So the motor is really safe. So this car can be really, really low to the ground, but I can't go too low because I got to be able to run the exhaust down that side. Let's see what else. I've been in contact with Haltech on some things. Got that stuff ordered. I don't have the ECU ordered yet, but I've got stuff that correlates with that ready to go. But yeah, so hopefully this week, once I get the alternator side mount and everything in, I'll get back to putting stuff together on this. The next video that I'm probably going to do is I got a block of these exhaust ports right here. You can't even hardly see that. See it on this side? No, you can't really see it there. Pull a flashlight out here. So that exhaust port right there, it's connected to the actual exhaust port, and I believe it's something to do with emissions and stuff like that on a factory car, so that it warms up the intake manifold. But where we're going, we don't need that. So I'm going to build some plates that bolt to these two existing bolt holes and cover that up. Use red RTV, cover it, and call it good. I might not even do it to both. I might just do it to this and RTV it. But with the kind of heat that this thing is going to generate, it kind of needs to be able to have two bolts so it doesn't warp and start having an exhaust leak there. Because I really don't want, that to be possibly blowing flames up around the carburetor once the motor is running warm. So let's see what else. Oh, so that, and then I'm going to come off of here and build a support bracket for the lower intake manifold. I think I'm gonna have to do some Googling on the aircraft paint remover. I'm gonna pull this black paint off. I don't like how it's on there, and it's gonna insulate. I noticed how badly it insulates the intake, which is not a good thing because it insulates it the wrong way. It holds heat in, so when I welded these bung holes up, you could physically touch the black part of the intake just about anywhere. But if you touched anything that was unpainted, it would burn your fingers. So that's got to come off before it goes on the car. But I got to figure out how I'm going to get that off, because I don't really have a good way to get rid of the aircraft paint remover once it's done. I assume that stuff dries up. But I went to my local Tractor Supply and got my thing that I'm going to, my steel, because I didn't want to use aluminum on that since it's steel and aluminum. 1/8 inch steel bar here to cover those holes up. But yeah, so pretty much talked through this. Oh, I also got this. I got a Painless switch panel. It's an 8-panel switch. A lot of things I'm going to do on this is going to be like a secondary backup thing that the ECU is actually going to do. So like the ECU will control the fuel pump, so it'll start running the fuel pump when it sees RPM, but since it's carbureted, it needs to have a prime, so I'll have like a button on here that also jumps the relay to prime the fuel pump for the carburetor, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so oh, another thing, So I'm gonna use an actual circle track oil cooler on this bad boy, so it has no reason to get warm. So that's the oil cooler I plan on using. Dash 12 fittings that I'll convert down to dash 10, since we really don't need that much. So the first start on this thing is gonna have, I'm gonna have to dump like 6 or 7 quarts of oil into it to pump through the whole system. But yeah, so other than that, I gotta get once I get the radiator in, I'll start building radiator mounts and everything else. Yeah, the list is, I'm on the fence about which roll cage I want to use. I'm trying to decide if I want to use a certain spec Miata roll cage, or if I'm going to send the car out and get an actual roll cage built in it. I think I'm just going to buy a spec Miata cage and throw some extra bars into it and be done with it. I feel like I'll be happier, more satisfied with that. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna end this video off here, and hopefully I will be back working on this pretty soon. Probably tomorrow or Sunday, and actually getting stuff done, so I'll have an actual video up for you next week. But this one will probably go up tomorrow. So until next time, guys, happy brapping.